Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? Can everybody take their seat? If you can hear me. You went from noise to being silent. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight for our town hall meeting, which we're going to talk about some very interesting things for the city. I've had a chance to be able to talk to the consultants, to be able to see what they're going to talk about. And I think that you all are going to be pleased with what's going on in the city of Irondale. We have two presentations that's going to take place. The first one is going to lay out the master plan for all of the parks in the city of Irondale. Parks, green space, you name it, it's going to be a part of this presentation. I want to thank my friend Leanne for working with us to be able to put this together. I met Leanne when I was city clerk, Leanne. We met when I was a city clerk, and we kept on trying to work together. For about 6 years, we didn't get a chance to be able to do anything but talk about working together. But when I became the mayor, Leanne was the first individual that I reached out to be able to help us to be able to have a plan for our parks. If you all want to know what Leanne does or what she does not do, I encourage you to go to her website. I'm not going to spend time up here tonight giving you her bio. She is well accomplished in what she does. And if I just need to give you one project to help you to be able to understand how fortunate we are to have her, I'm just going to say Railroad Park. So with no further ado, I'm going to ask my friend, our consultant, Ms. Leanne McNally, to come and to be able to share with you an outstanding plan that she's put together for all of the green spaces in the city of Irondale. I promise you, you all will be proud. I wrote a big check for you, Leanne.
Appreciate that. I'm gonna, hey, can everyone hear me without the mic? I have a pretty loud voice, so try to keep it from there. But as Mayor said, I'm Leanne McNally with McNally Design. I'm very excited to be here tonight. As the mayor mentioned, we started talking about this to the city of Irondale several years ago, and then we kicked off the process about a year ago. So I know for a lot of you, you've been anxiously waiting and wondering what's going on. But the planning process to make sure that we get all of our ducks in a row is a process. So a little bit about what we've been doing. I won't repeat everything verbatim, but you can see on here kind of the vision that we had working with the mayor and hearing from the community about what this Parks and Green Space Master Plan should be, and then the mission that was given to our team and some goals and priorities that we set for this plan. So it's a guiding framework for the city for the next several years about where the citizens want their resources to be spent. So what are your priorities? So just a few of these things, if you can see, we want to make sure that we're providing a document that the city has written down and captured, what do we have, what needs improvement, what does the community want to prioritize, and then what would provide us equitable access throughout the city for all of our residents and visitors to these resources and amenities, and then what are the standards that we do all future development by. So what bar do we set for ourselves, and what is the identity that we want to give through our parks and green space for the city of Irondale? Let's see. Community feedback. I know when we started the community engagement process about a year ago, we kicked it off at I Love Irondale Day. We had a pretty lengthy online survey process. So I've got the results here, but I'm not going to get into the detail of everything, but I'll flip through and give you the highlights. But I do want to say that, the purpose was to hear from the community, and we did. We heard from the community. Y'all showed up. You gave us your input, you gave us your thoughts and your priorities. And then, we use that to drive what we did for the planning process. Just some general feedback is that there was an overall consensus from the community that you did want to see improvements to your parks and green spaces. You wanted to see some walking trails, community spaces, places where you can come together with your neighbors and your families was the biggest want and need throughout the process. Quality playgrounds and, multi-use spaces. So not just having one use all the time for your amenities. And, we had a lot of individual comments that were shared throughout. So, we asked, I'm going to flip through these pretty quickly, but we got demographic information so that we knew that we were capturing different age groups, different backgrounds, people with kids, people without kids, grandparents, and, we even had high schoolers and some kids under 18 respond to the online survey, which is really hard sometimes to get that demographic to participate in a city survey. So the fact that we got that was huge. This is one of the biggest tells that we did get from the community is most people have to get in their car and travel to some of your green spaces, and that's a challenge and a hindrance for people to be able to get out and have those opportunities for improving their own health and wellness in those green spaces. And so we took note of that in the larger scale city plan that you'll see in a second. But we do know that people travel from all over. They pass through the city of Irondale all the time. And so you have the potential to capture not just your residents here, but visitors to the city to bring in those tax dollars to support your city. Flipping through, these are some of the barriers that we had talked about with the vehicular access, and also just maintenance and understanding that, when you build something, you have to maintain it. And that's a lot of what this plan does, and it helps to prioritize so that when the city invests in something, that it is maintained long term. I'll go through this. These were the, highlights. Like I said, walking trails and community spaces led the charge and the wants throughout the meetings. And these are just some images. We asked you, what do you like? Tell us those places that you love, those parks and green spaces that are important to you. And the common themes that we saw through here: community spaces, well-maintained spaces, landscape, shade. And so I think, that's pretty much a given with where we are and some of the comments. So all of this feedback has been extremely helpful to us as we start taking, what are the wants and needs and looking at what do we have. So the first part of the master plan was looking at what you have within the city. I know this map is hard to read, but the gist overall is that we have about 56 acres of green space currently that are parks within the city of Irondale. What that is the national recommendations for your green spaces per residence. We should be sitting more around 140 acres. And so we had 56. So we knew that there was a deficit, and we needed to identify, where those other areas could come from. And one of the opportunities that the city has taken in the past year and a half is there are some opportunities for property acquisition. And so that, you can see those numbers in here, and I'm going to talk about these properties in a minute. With those properties, there's 344 acres of potential park and recreation green space added, just public land added to the city's green space inventory. And so we needed, okay, now we have what we need overall. We have all this land, but what do we do with it? How do people access it, and what are the priorities? So this is our new map. You'll see the properties in orange are city acquired properties over this past year. And so we're going to talk a little bit about plans for the future, the ones in the light green here are the existing parks, and the ones in maroon and in the dark green are actually, those are your schools. So those are also places where people recreate. And then the dark green is those partner lands like Ruffner Mountain, the Freshwater Land Trust partnerships with the canoe launch, and some of the other conservation land that they have. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But one of the things that this overall plan does capture is all of that inventory, but then also what are those other partnership projects? One of the common requests that we heard, this connectivity issue to green spaces, is one of the planning efforts that has been going on over the past couple of years is through the Freshwater Land Trust Red Rock Trail System. And they have identified, they've updated that. It was done initially, I think, 15 years ago, maybe a little less. They just recently went through an update to prioritize their project for their Red Rock Trail System. And they identified 7 priority corridors over the next 5 years that they want to focus on implementing. 2 of them connect to the city of Ironton. And so 2 of them would connect green spaces and have that opportunity for a pedestrian and cycling connection. And so I know the mayor has already been talking with the Freshwater Land Trust, and this just captures where those trails go and how they connect to the existing green space. Okay. So also in the past year, some things have been underway. So we have Ellard Park, which is the Tales by the Rails dog park in Ellard Park is about to get underway under construction. We're waiting on the contractor to get everything lined up, but this is several acres of Ellard Park that is going to house a large and a small dog park with a pavilion, improved parking, and walks and everything at Ellard Park. There's also plans underway for improvements at Ruffner Park with ball fields and new playgrounds and pavilions. So these are 2 existing parks. This is the programming, snapshot of the programming for those parks, and that they're underway. So we're going to get into our other existing parks and the programming that we've divided out and that we're proposing for each of those, and then for the new properties. And I'm going to hit these high level. In the booklet master plan, there's going to be a lot more detail about why it's being proposed for each site. So we looked at each site and what exists at each site, what is in need of improvement, what the community said they want, and the demographics and access within those areas. So the first one that we've looked at is Beacon Park. So Beacon Park is one of the main city parks right now. It's where you have a lot of your community events. But there's some opportunities within this park because you do have some dated facilities. You have a significant portion of the park area that is underutilized. It's overgrown, it's cut off by other facilities. So the enhancements that we're proposing for Beacon Park is expanded walking trails throughout the site and a new track area around the common green space there. Actually a new restroom facility and pavilion area up on the hill where there's some tennis courts that used to be on the other side of that have been gone, and it closes off, the existing facilities close off that whole back area. But we're proposing kind of a reorientation of the pavilion and restrooms that provides for a central corridor to that upper level property, and so it could be open green space right now, or it's a great location and size and fit for pickleball courts, which is the #1 fastest growing recreational sport in the nation. And I'll say a lot of this programming too, we have identified the city, and then at the same time, the state has had the outdoor recreation plan going on, and so we've used that outdoor recreation plan to identify, okay, that matches up with what the city and the citizens want, and there's opportunities for grant funding out there. So we've tried to get a good balance of where you can go out and find different pots of money to help make some of these things happen. An improved woodland playground, reworking the drive and the parking so it's a little bit safer during events, and there's easier turnaround and kind of cut off areas so that you don't have people walking through the parking during those large events. Stronger connections to the neighborhood. So there's an existing gateway to the neighborhood by the playground, but there's also an opportunity on the upper side of Beacon Park to connect to the neighborhood to the north. And then also providing a sidewalk to the senior center. So this is kind of an expanded Beacon Park, but the senior center itself, and looking at the programming that the senior center has the opportunity to do, but actually looking at exterior programming for the senior center for seniors that want to come and be able to walk to the park. Having a sidewalk there is a very simple measure that would go a long way to connecting everything. Looking at the opportunity for the community gardens to be located at the senior center, and something simple like a bocce court. This provides the opportunities for intergenerational programming to happen, especially if you bring kids from some of the schools over to partner with some of the seniors for a garden program. And I know that the Irondale Community School has done this partnerships with different things in the past. And talking with one of the previous principals at the Irondale Community School, he said the kids love that programming more than anything. So looking at that programming for the senior center and the Beacon Park has a connection, and looking at not just the programming within the building, but outside of the building itself. Okay. Next, we'll move on to Triangle Park. We have this little sliver along Montevallo Road, but it has a great opportunity to be a respite. So it's a nice little pass through right now. It's great shade, but having something iconic in that little triangle space. You have a lot of local artists here having local art commission and celebrate, so people can have a destination and a reason to go to Triangle Park. Having that programming built in, neighborhood gateway signage, pollinator gardens, and being able to really enhance and utilize that space. It's just about a quarter of an acre right there in the neighborhood. We have a couple of other neighborhood parks. We're calling it Ventura Park and Sunny Rock Park. These are on the roads. These are the ones that we didn't know about until the community engagement process, and y'all told us where they were, and so we did go out and find those. We know that the city has made some improvements to those over the years that are very functional. They keep on maintaining, they have walkways, but coming in with signage, enhanced landscape. In the case of Sunny Rock Park, there's a stream through there that's pretty much full of stone or dirt. Having a creek restoration project through there would provide an opportunity for the neighbors to get engaged, and also do a lot for your water quality through the neighborhood in that drainage area. So just small pocket parks. These are just as important as the bigger parks. Okay, and this is one of your partnership project sites. This is Cava Landing, so this is the launch site that's on the Cahaba River, and it has the trails. It's a partnership with the Freshwater Land Trust. They're actually the owners of this property, but we do know that it is one of the most highly utilized sites for access, in this upriver section of the Cahaba. It's a great popular swimming hole, but that also adds to traffic on Grants Mill Road. It becomes a life safety issue. So within the overall planning process, we are recommending that there be some more in-depth discussions and study, because there's a lot of land right off the river, and if it can be looked at for expanding a secure parking area that's done to the standards of the Cahaba Blueway guidelines. It's a whole separate guideline book that promotes low impact development and infiltration of stormwater. So it's not talking about paving the world right next to the river, but doing it correctly. We're highly encouraging that expanded trails and parking and everything could happen for this site, and it would, I think, alleviate some of the issues that we see right now with people parking in the roads, and it's great ways to access the river. I think that is the last one of the existing parks, and then we'll get to the potential new parks. So you saw that list. I know that, most everybody that's in here has heard about different acquisitions over the years, over the past year, but we have a site that's off John Rogers Parkway that is where the fire station is going. There's a lot of property adjacent to that that is actually came with where the property needed for the fire station, but it is not developable for much. And then we have the Zamora Temple acquisition, and then also what we're calling the Cahaba property, which is the whole property on the Cahaba right down 78. So we're going to go over potential programming for these three. So the first one is one of our larger sites. It's a little over 100 acres for the Cahaba property. So as you can see, the Cahaba River goes around it. It has one of the lengthiest frontages of access to the Cahaba that we've seen that is a public park space. It has an Alabama Power easement running through it, and it has some pretty tricky terrain. So it is not something that you can't, we have actually looked at this site for residential development for the past 20 years. So when we heard the city had purchased it, we're like, great, because nobody else can do anything with it. we were very familiar with this site, and it is actually a great conservation area for protection and buffer to the Cahaba River, but that doesn't mean you don't do anything to it. The programming that we're proposing for this site is just actually providing, there's some roads that are already cut into the site that are on the shelves, and those could be very easily used and have parking, and I will get into this a little bit more. So these are character images of the programming that we're proposing for the site, but having parking nestled into the woodlands there so that people can access the site, and having accessible and primitive trail systems built throughout the site that would connect it. Access to the river, there's some great shoals down here that are easily accessible from the banks for fly fishing. So they would be a great amenity. Fishing was one of those that came up recurring in the community feedback as well, and then access to the river. And it's one of, you have Moon River Landing, which is just on the other side of 78 from here, so this would be an upper launch and takeout for that section of the Blueway. And then this is the southern half of the site, and then the northern half of the site, we are, there's a really interesting bridge, that's an old bridge access through there that could be a great pedestrian gateway to that northern part of the property. And we're looking at proposing a disc golf, frisbee golf. So that's one of the fastest rising sports in Alabama, for you have people from all over that are coming for competition, and it can be done in the woods. So you're not talking about raising trees or anything like that. It also can occur throughout that Alabama Power right of way, but we're proposing to enhance that with more native meadow and just provide them the minimal what they would need to be able to access the power lines, but really enhance and create access to that upper area through that. Okay, so next we're going to get to the Heritage Drive property. This is off of 78 as well, and right off Heritage Drive across from Jefferson Christian Academy. And so it's a really unique piece of land. It has great potential for visibility from I-459 with some selective clearing. But one of the things that we've heard, not only with the City of Irondale feedback, but in other community feedback and neighborhood feedback throughout the state, is that the kids really want something to do. And they don't necessarily want, your same traditional programming for ball fields. Not everybody's a team player. It's not their thing. So the opportunities for this site is to have a large multi-purpose field, looking at programming connection to those neighborhoods to the north, and be able to have those pavilions for people to come out and grill out or things like that. But also look at the opportunity to bring in something like challenge and obstacle courses. So these are used by a wide variety of demographics, from young to old, men to women, everything, to be able to challenge themselves in a manner that's at their own pace. And so you have, you can see the examples at the top of these challenge and ninja courses. If any of you have ever watched, American Ninja or anything of those game shows and things like that, a lot of people are into this now. A lot of the fitness groups use things like this. And then also the potential for carpool courses or something like this. This is one of those program opportunities that there is nothing else like this anywhere around. We have neighboring cities that have, ball field, areas that draw that, or tennis areas that draw that, or swimming areas that draw that. This is one of the main comments that we've seen, that there is no other city in the state of Alabama that has one park that really offers where you can bring all age groups and do challenge courses like this. So it's one of those things that the programming for the site, and the site itself has some boulders to it, so it could be some part natural, some part equipment, but that would need to be studied a little bit more in depth for the site survey. But the opportunities for this site, and also the location of it, is very easy to be able to draw in people from all over. Move on to the next, Zamora Temple. So the Zamora Temple site itself is actually this piece up here, but we have another couple of 100 acres with the sites that the city already owned, and then this additional property to the south that goes all the way to the Cahaba. So I know the mayor has already been working with one group to assess the conditions of the Zamora Temple and to look at the feasibility of repurposing that. It's an amazingly large facility. It has great bones, and it does line up with the programming that we see that's needed on this side of the city. So they're doing more in-depth studies, so we didn't do a schematic site plan of what this would be, but we outlined the programming. So having that larger civic center, meeting space, opportunities for indoor recreation within inside the Zamora Temple itself, and then looking at large civic plaza space on the exterior. There's also ample room there to repurpose a lot of that parking, some of it for parking, but others for court areas. So for pickleball court areas, or civic plazas, and places like that. And then this site is one of those that we're highly encouraging more in-depth study on, and also to look at the other needs of the city, not just the park and recreation green space, because with the terrain of this site and the location of this site, it has great opportunity to blend all those recreational needs and incorporate some of the other requests that we saw with the large multi-purpose fields for different sports, or a cycling track, but also residential and commercial. And that, this is a pretty large site, and it can be done in a way, developed in a way that maintains the integrity of the site and keeps the trees. And so we're saying, you don't have to put the recreation, property line to property line on this site. It needs to be a piece of it, but the draw there and the potential is for more rooftops, more commercial, more businesses that you need that are not available on this side of the city right now. And so this is one of those that we've outlined what could happen there, and saying, okay, the next step for this site would be. And then this is character images of the programming and the things that could happen on that site. Okay, and then last we have John Rogers Drive. So the fire station is going in this corner up here, and then the training facility right here. But you see we have pretty extensive property. It is kind of a rocky sloped property. It's under some conservation restrictions there, so that means it can't really be developed for anything else. But it's perfect for mountain biking, and it's one of the top requests. The other request that we saw a lot of. We have a large cycling and biking community within the state of Alabama, and that is coming in areas around Ironville right now. And this is a great site that would be an opportunity to have trailheads and extensive mountain biking trails, and keep it solely for that purpose, and incorporate things like the pump and skills track. If you're not familiar with these, this is what if you've been to the small one that's at Oak Mountain State Park, if you take your grandkids or your kids out there and let them, ride their bikes, it's for them to, really learn how to start jumping and balancing and things like that before you send them out on the trail on the side We have friends that, two kids recently in the past couple of years who have full college ride scholarships for mountain biking. So, not everybody has to compete for football or basketball, but these are, if we have the resources and amenities here, then our kids have the opportunity to go and to look at some of these sports just for fun or to carry it on to something else. Right. Okay, considerations for the future. So I think my PowerPoint shrunk a little bit, so if y'all are seeing some funny text, that's not how it. But we know that there is a lot happening within the city right now. And so that means you're gonna get a lot of distractions and a lot of drivers from different areas. So as we think about parks and green space and your need in all areas throughout the city, there's a couple of things we have put in the plan that we don't want to be forgotten about. So we know that there's a lot going on with different services moving from historic downtown. There's a lot of city-owned property downtown. So we're encouraging that as those services move elsewhere and the city's evaluating what to do with this property, is don't forget about the green space and don't forget about, what opportunities there are for the downtown in your corridor of historic neighborhoods. And so we have narratives in there that will be written to make sure that this stays as one of those priorities for any future planning efforts that come from what to do with the land now, what to do with the buildings now, what to do once the library moves, is to keep in mind those recreational needs for this area. The second piece is kind of twofold. It's within our existing neighborhoods and then also future neighborhood development, is just keeping an eye out for those neighborhoods, that big overall city map that had the blue circles. The blue circles that I showed represent 5 and a 10-minute walking distance from your green space. And so you can see all the void space within your existing neighborhoods that don't have anywhere they can walk within 5 to 10 minutes. That's why we have to get in our cars. So this is just keeping in mind that there may come some opportunities with tax delinquent properties or abandoned properties within those existing neighborhoods that can become, smaller, less intensive, recreational spaces, pocket parks for the communities in those neighborhoods. So as opportunities come up, we just want to keep it in mind that, reevaluate those as opportunities come up. And then as new development occurs, this is something that we encourage any municipality that we work with, is make sure you update your subdivision codes, is require sidewalks, highly encourage, conservation development, which means that they don't just grade wall to wall, but they do a tree preservation plan, they do buffers for protecting their waterways, and that they also have community room space built in to those new neighborhoods. And so all of this is written into the document for things to keep in mind and can be passed off to any developer that is working in the city in the future. So this gives us the overall framework and programming that we're proposing for each of the green spaces. But we did want to provide some guidelines too. So we have a section that can be pulled out for design guidelines. These are prescriptive, not restrictive. But what they do is, the intent of these is to provide a clear and cohesive message across any City of Irondale park and green space about what your signage should be, highly encouraging native landscape that requires less maintenance and less water requirements, looking at, pervious paving. So these are in site furnishing standards. So that you have the same garbage cans at every park. You have the same benches at every park. This provides, a good design aesthetic across all the parks, but also the city can buy in bulk. This park needs 3 benches and this park needs 4, and then they can buy those 10 benches and kind of have them in stock to replace. Is having these standards established helps the city to be able to prioritize that and yearly build a budget for ongoing maintenance for the park. And so signage and wayfinding, so this is kind of what you see first with parks. So we've looked at, a lot of inspiration from the city of Irondale. It's a city that was built around the tracks, and around the mining industry, but you have some pretty, iconic. We've talked with the mayor, and I think he's been talking with the railroad about getting the underpass every year, having them clean that up. I noticed there's been a lot of interest. This feature here is pretty amazing. And then, so we've established a materials palette for the signage, and this is a sign that's already planned. It'll be at Ellard Park, but this is an example of the signage palette that we're proposing for the city. So the columns, and these have a different use for each one. So the larger monument sign is more your primary park vehicular centric sign. You have your park entry sign, which is within the park, which has, your park map on it, your park rules, it can have interpretive signage or, dedications or anything like that. Wayfinding for the main park sign. And then we have some simple park signage, wayfinding signage, interpretive signage elements, especially if you look at doing the Cahaba property and looking at one of the nature trails, but having an interpretive signage element is the bottom center, and then some simple directional mile markers for this. So this is a kind of a cohesive design palette, so that anybody that rides through the city or is looking for a park, it's like, oh, that's City of Irondale Park. We know it's going to be well maintained. We know it's going to have standards. We know we're going to be able to find our way around. So the booklet, the master plan booklet, has details for all of these as well. So I think that brings me to the end of my presentation. Yeah, and so I'll turn it back over to the mayor. Thank you for letting me share.
Y'all can clap. It's okay. Well, what we wanted to do tonight, we wanted you to see what your taxpayer dollars has been doing for you. We've been doing a lot. It takes a lot of time to bring a lot of this stuff to fruition. But as you all was looking at what we have planned for our parks, I hope that you are very excited about it as I am, and that we're looking forward to implementing a lot of the things that you saw in the presentation there. One of the beauties of this whole thing is that we've tied a lot of what we want to do to funding that's already available at the state level. And I just finished talking, Leanne, to a grant writer today, and have shared all of these projects with her and how you masterfully tied the projects to the money that's down at the state of Alabama. So we're going to go get a lot of that money to be able to do a lot of the projects. We will sit down after this is over and have a discussion with the council, and we'll determine our priorities as we move forward. But I'm a firm believer that if you don't have a plan to succeed, you already have one to fail. But I think that we've done a very excellent job of putting something together for all of the green space in the city of Irondale to be able to go from 53 acres now to 343 acres is an amazing feat. So when you all were probably sitting there trying to figure out why the city is spending all this money, that's why the city was spending all of this money, because we wanted to make sure that we are different from other municipalities and that we can bring things in that are sustainable, but it also sets Irondale apart. As my firemen will always say, they said, Mayor, we just built different. So we just built different. We just do things different. We look different. We act different. But at the end of the day, I hope that you all were pleased with that. Does anybody have any questions before I move to the branding presentation? Okay. I think I just talked about how everything is tied to funding sources that will come through grants where the city of Irondale doesn't have to spend a lot of money to do it. No, grants usually are not set up to be able to provide you with maintenance money, but that's something that we will build into our budget here at the city of Irondale. We're projecting, what, a $3 million surplus at the end of the year. So I feel that the sufficient amount of money is here to be able to do what we showed you tonight.
Professionally trained people come in and assess our parks, keep them up to date, replace things that need to be replaced, and update.
I would say to your answer, Ms. Pike, unless I was just sitting over there in that seat asleep, I think she just showed all of those things on the video.
That's a great question. So one of the things that the master plan does is provide, the overall framework for it. But within the design guidelines, what is written there is that each park should be designed to have a maintenance framework, a maintenance specification written in the design of the park, so that when the park is designed and bid for construction, that the city can also put numbers to it about what it would take to maintain it and then what's expected. So having the certified playground inspector come yearly, so that is written into it, so that the guidelines are there about knowing what to do now, so that each project is designed, it would come with a maintenance plan.
Well, my apologies, I really was referring to green spaces, because, they are walkable. That, you can go across the street to the green space. You can go, it takes you 2 or 3 minutes to get to the green space. And so just, the minute necessities like gravel for parking and new picnic tables, some that are weather worthy, benches that are more comfortable and updated, like you said. Just visions, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just to keep it up, keep it pretty, keep it, like, I'd love to have some lights, like out here on Corner City Hall, in our green space, for our community, for our children. But it doesn't seem like.
Well, let me say this. You're talking about the park in your neighborhood. Don't make a general statement to say that all the parks. I want to be specific to let everybody know. Well, I'm letting everybody know that you're talking about the park in your neighborhood. And I think she gave a presentation of what we were going to do in your park.
No, that I didn't understand. She showed it and said these were the 2 green spaces, but she really didn't say we're going to do
Yeah.
this.
And so the master plan outlines the programming for each park, and then the design standards section that I went over, I didn't give all the verbiage about the lighting standards, but like when lighting is implemented, this should be the light standard and it should be maintained. So a lot of the existing parks don't have a maintenance program right now, but this is making the recommendation that you get that in place for each park. And so that's a step in the process. That's beyond what we're doing.
That's your department.
Yeah, that's my department. That's not her decision. She's just here to be able to do the planning, to show us what we can do with the park. She's assessed all of the parks and determined, based on what the citizens said that they want, how that programming will actually fit in those parks. Now, our goal is to figure out how we pay for it, how we maintain it, and how we implement it. That's something that is done inside the house, not outside the house.
So what is the.
Hold on. I'll take another question. Ms. Velman? Yes, it's a public park, so anybody can come and to be able to participate in the park. We haven't put a timeline to any of this stuff. We just wanted to be able to bring the presentation to you to let you all know what has been identified, what the master plan is going to look like, and how the city is going to move forward in the next couple of years when we get ready to deal with our parks. We will not be dealing with them haphazardly. We will not be picking our favorites, but we'll move now because we have a plan to strategically move and to be able to deal with all the issues that we have. But we can also measure it now because we have a benchmark and standard before we've started the process. Gretchen?
I understand that it would be a big expense, but I heard a rumor, and I understand that it's not necessary, but I heard a rumor that there might be plans to build a footbridge over the train. Is that something that is thought about at all? Or
That's
was that just a rumor?
that's a straight up rumor.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's a straight up rumor. We're not getting ready to build a bridge over 20th Street to get to the other side. So that's I'll kill that one right now tonight. That is a rumor. Yeah, that's a rumor. Okay, you're welcome. All right. Well, we'll move from the parks to talking about branding. Why are we having a branding presentation? Because when I became the mayor, I think we had about 8 or 9 logos running around here. If you go to Public Works, you'll probably be able to find a logo for every mayor. So if you go from the 90s, from Prater to Kreider to Ramsey to Alexander to Moore, there's a brand over there that represents them. And even Stewart ended up having one when he came in the 20s. What we wanted to do, the same thing that Leanne talked about, is bring some consistency to everything that we do. So your stationery looks the same way, your business card that looks the same way that your envelopes look, that the same way that your website looked, which is the same way your apps look, but it should also be the same way that your vehicles look as well as your employees. What I tell the employees all the time, people are going to see you more than they see me, and what they see in you is the first impression of what they're going to have about the city of Irondale. So we began on a journey in, David, when was it? The beginning of the year. And I want to thank the council for approving for us to hire a consultant to be able to create a brand that would be consistent throughout the city of Irondale. It would represent the city of Irondale. It would also talk about the mission and the vision, cover the history, the past, the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, and the in-between. So we started working with Clarity to be able to do that. Also, I want to let you all know this is not the mayor's logo. There were shareholders throughout the city that was interviewed for over 30 minutes to be able to give their input. I think, Jenny, did you participate in the survey? Okay. Well, there were about 20 stakeholders that participated, and I'll let David go into more detail about this as well. But I want to thank David too for it's like once they get to hang around here for a while, they're no longer our consultant. They become our friends. So I want to invite David to come up. When I met David, Christian was actually playing professionally over in Sweden, and that's where David's family is from, but he never been to Sweden. So he and I talked about it when I had a chance to be able to go and visit Christian. But without further ado, David, I'm going to turn it over to you. Do you need the mic or you?
Can you all hear me in the back? Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all. I know I get to speak with every single person here as part of our process, but like the Mayor said, we probably spoke with 20, 25 people. And instead of just sending an email out with a survey and everybody gets to say what's your favorite color, what's your favorite font, we wanted to spend a little more quality time with a select group of people and just say, hey, tell us what you love about this place. Like, why do you live here? What do you love about it? What do you hope never changes? What do you hope changes? What are you proud of? What are you most excited to see over the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? what do you hope, you leave to your kids and grandkids about this place? And so, at Clarity, we do, a lot of different types of branding work. We don't just work with cities. We don't just do, this kind of like, what we call place branding, where we're branding a place. We do work on corporations, big and small businesses and, restaurants and kind of all sorts of stuff. And you can see kind of plenty of our work, on our website, but one of my favorite things to do is projects where we get to spend a lot of time with the stakeholders, so in this case, residents of Irondale. And so, that's how we started, was just listening. We spent a lot of time with the mayor and his staff, and then we spoke to people, pastors, teachers, business owners, residents, people who've been here a long time, people who just moved in, people who didn't live here, worked here. And that's really what we just kind of soaked it all up. What we always say is we're not a prescriptive firm in that we don't design based on what's cool right now. We don't just say like, well, this is going to attract people, or this is going to help tourism, or this is going to help schools, or this is going to. We don't kind of come in with like a hillbilly agenda. It's much more of just a mirror. This is what we heard, and in fact, that's the first presentation we gave the mayor. There was no design in it whatsoever. It was just, here's what we heard, here's the direction we're thinking, here's some words that we've heard over and over and over. And his response was, you heard us well, keep going. So I'm going to kind of walk you through that. If you have any questions along the way, I'm happy to answer them, or the mayor can answer this at the end. So this is the quote that I want to start with. I'm going to start with just like some quotes that I heard from our conversations. We're not trying to be someone else. We're trying to be ourselves. And this comment came in the context of there's a lot of great communities in Birmingham. Birmingham has a lot of individual little cities that make up the greater Birmingham metro. And there's a lot of reasons to live in any one of those. But the thing that I heard over and over and over of people in Irondale is we're not trying to be Trussville, we're not trying to be Mountain Brook, we're not trying to be Vestavia. All communities that we touch, that we border. We're not trying to be Birmingham, we're not trying to be anybody. We're proud of who we are. We're excited about where we're going, and we want to be true to that. That was the kind of biggest overarching comment that we heard over and over. It's great to embrace our history. This is a progressive community, and being welcoming is important. There was this idea of there's a diversity that we're proud of here in this community. That's not something we're trying to shy away from or change or anything like that. But we're also not just proud of the trains and the train tracks or the industrial path where we get our name. There's a lot more here in this community than just the kind of I-beam and we did, I'll kind of get into this, but we studied the visuals and, there's more to the city of Irondale than an I-beam that represents the industrial path. I think my favorite comment, I see Irondale, the marriage between the Mayberry and the Dedsons. There was this idea like, we're a small town, we're a small community. There's a friendly, I've been to a couple of the council meetings and I've sat in the back and just kind of observed. And like, y'all are passionate about every little detail.
Good council meeting.
The first one, I think, was the one where we were voted on. It was, I think, 4 hours, 3 hours. But it was, like, y'all care. Y'all care about everything. Y'all care about the details. Y'all don't just show up when it's, it's fun. I don't remember the issues of that night, but it was, you guys are engaged. You're engaged in your community. You're asking about your park. You're asking about, hey, I want to make sure that as we change and as we grow, that what we love about this place isn't lost. But we are growing and we are moving, we are changing, and we want to keep moving forward. And so how do we do that in a way? And this was, again, I put this in there because it was my favorite comment. But this is a small community where you aren't just another face in the crowd. I know the mayor made a comment about like he can't go anywhere without somebody stopping him, but that was something that I heard from many of the residents. Like when you're missing from an event, somebody says, "Well, why weren't you at I Love Irondale Days?" Or there's a small town feel that's here that we want to cherish. I love living in community with our diversity. It's very unique in the greater Birmingham metro. I would say, unfortunately, that is true of Birmingham, that this is a little bit more of a unique situation. And I think it's something that we need to reflect and something we should be proud of. the future is bright in Irondale. I took out all of the glowing quotes of Mayor Stewart and the leadership for this presentation because I didn't want it to seem like I was sucking up. But there were a number of we're really proud of the leadership. We're really proud of where we're going. The other quote that was one of my favorites was, "I hope he never leaves office," which but there is this idea of like we're moving in the right direction. And again, it's that idea of stewardship. It's we want to make sure that it's done in a way that we're proud of and we continue to be proud of. So I'm going to read this. I got a little cut off. And bonus point, you can find the typo, which I apologize for. So Irondale, Alabama is a growing city. This is our kind of lens, how we see things and kind of what we've heard. So Irondale, Alabama is a growing city with a rich history, beautiful natural landmarks. Founded in 1887, the city is named after Irondale Furnace, home to one of the largest, some of the finest natural environments in the larger Birmingham metro, specifically the Powder River, Rougher Mountain, to name a couple. The citizens are proud of their community, protective of what currently makes it special, and eager to see it continue to grow. Our mission is to showcase the unique, this is kind of our mission in our work, is to showcase this unique culture, the natural beauty of Irondale, Alabama, creating a diverse and progressive brand that resonates with the community, attracts visitors, and communicates trust to businesses. So like I said, a lot of good things going. We want to keep that going and just have a visual identity that kind of reflects that. Our community and our future will be built on our history, natural resources, and diversity. So I think as you start to boil all of that down, and we kind of landed on some of this language, honestly, outside of some of the existing language around build community, but it was this idea of we want to build a community, and as we do that, we're going to build the future. As we build stronger roots together, we're going to continue to build in the right direction, gain momentum, and make the city strong like we all want. So this idea of, obviously, Irondale does start with an I, and there are a number of marks. We do want to try to consolidate and take the best of what's there and build on that, and and bring that into a new light. And so this idea of these kind of multiple parts coming together to form this mark that represents the city. In our mind, this symbol, this kind of uppercase I, it's kind of a column. It represents the building, forward-thinking, organic formation. It's constructive, it's community, it's things coming together, and it's this idea of connection. And so as you see that in what we call like a word mark or a logo, we want something that's progressive but doesn't feel trendy. It doesn't feel like we're trying to be somebody else. We're not trying to be just like luxury or fancy or cool or trendy or hip or any of these things. We want something that feels classic, that feels timeless. And as you see that, and you see it start to unveil, obviously when you're working with the city, it's not just like a small business where you've got a sign and maybe a business card. You're gonna have a lot of versions of logos. It's got to work on a lot of different things. It's got to look good on a water tower and a trash can, and a business card, and a truck, and a T-shirt, and a polo shirt, and a sign. And so city identities specifically are a challenge because of all of that. So you need a lot of different variations. You need things that can be a little more iconic and maybe dynamic, and then things that can be much more structured and simple and easy to read. So as you're driving down the street, you can see stuff. Again, this is kind of cut off a little bit, but you can see it's something that can be really big and graphic, and then something that obviously can work in a lot of different ways. So in terms of the color palette, you've already kind of seen, but just to kind of unpack that a little more directly, the green we really see as a reflection of the foliage, and obviously Ruffner is kind of like the icon of Irondale. The yellow is kind of like more electric green, if you want to call it that, is that kind of youthful, creative energy, the kind of vibrance of kind of a younger generation maybe. This kind of clay, this is specifically not crimson and specifically not orange for obvious reasons. This is kind of an iron red clay, inspired by the iron of Red Mountain. You've got the Colorado River blue, and then kind of a warm, this might not show up perfectly, but this is kind of almost a creamy or light gray, which is, we see it as kind of a warmer reflection of the industrial past as opposed to just the kind of like black and gold that we have. So you can see it in our mind, this is a kind of dynamic in terms of it. You're going to see it in a lot of different ways. It's not always going to look exactly the same every time. It's lots of colors, it's bold. And then we have kind of a number, this is maybe surprisingly, this is I think 25 pages. I think the version we gave the mayor was like more like 150. So this is just a really small little snapshot. But we do things like, what does it look like on top of photography? What does it look like? Is the symbol strong enough to use where photos can live inside of them? What does it look like on a flag? You got to have a great looking flag as a city. These are just mock-ups, so these are not real. These haven't been ordered yet, but this is just, what does it look like if you have a flag for kind of like the historic downtown part of town? What does it look like if you have some language about building community or building community in the future? This is just really hypothetical. How does it work vertically with a really tall sign? What does it look like as you're driving by? What does it look like as a monument, street signage, wayfinding? And so again, these are all just kind of mock-ups just to say, does the logo work in different places? We like this idea of maybe painting this is Preston Boulevard as you're coming into Irondale. What if we took some of these brand colors and painted that underpass? I don't know if Aldot's gonna let's do this, but
Still working.
there you go. We get to have just fun ideas. Say, what if? Can we do this? And then obviously you'll have a very iconic water tower. And so we had to take a stab at what that looked like. So, and like I said, you gotta have a great context because that's what you're gonna see on a cold, whatever morning it is that runs here. You go out there and you see the trash can knocked over and you go, but we want that to still be a place where, you're proud of your branding and it looks good on, both sides or however we end up locking that up. And like the mayor said, it's got to look good on a website. It's got to look good in your app. And so how can we make that warm and welcoming and vibrant for people who don't already live here, but also be a reflection of the community that are obviously proud of. So I think that's the end of my slides. So I'll let the mayor take it from here. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David, for going through that. Like I said, we've worked on these two projects for a long time. We didn't want you all to think that we, sometimes you start things and you never finish it, and then you move on to something else. We wanted to let you know tonight that's not what we tried to do here. We try to finish strong. So you've had an opportunity to be able to look at what your parks are going to look like, and also, I don't know if you all saw it in the branding side, but they used exactly what Leanne created for the regulations with the signs and all of those things. Again, the main goal was to achieve consistency. You have to see things over and over. You have to see things from several different places. And as you continue to see those things, then it starts to register in your mind. That's how you brand a company. And the only difference that we're trying to do is to be able to brand a city. So do anybody have any questions about the branding presentation? Yeah. Yeah, you have a question.
We changed the stationery one time in the school that I worked in. And it wasn't very well. So I'm wondering how does that implement? I can't support this enough. I think we've been going for a long time. How are you going to start?
Well, the goal hopefully is to start in January to introduce this element into different things, of the city. The app looking different, the newsletter embracing it and looking different. So it's going to be a gradual, change. One of the things around here, they don't send out a lot of letters or purchase a lot of stationery. They are very creative. What they do is they will copy a sheet of stationery, Lee laughing at me, and they put it on their computer. So whenever they print anything, they just print it off as regular paper. So we don't have a lot of, I guess you could say, a lot of stuff like that where we got to get rid of it to be able to change it. So we'll start with the baby steps, changing a little bit here, changing a little bit there. And then over a period of time, we're moved to, like now, whenever we purchase new equipment or trucks or something like that, we will begin to put the new logo on there instead of using the old one. So I would say it would be a gradual change to the madness.
So is this set in stone? This is gonna be, this is real?
Unless you have any other suggestions.
Well, I didn't know if we had a choice or if we had,
You don't. No, you don't. But we invited you to come tonight to be able to get your input. It's like we said, we want you to give your input. Now, sometimes it hurts to be brutally honest, but we are not going back to the drawing board to start all over again. Will we make some tweaks to it? Yes, we will. We want to give us suggestions so we can be able to do that. But I don't want you to think if your suggestion is let's scrap it and start over again, we're going to start over again, because we're not starting over again. So we will make adjustments, but we will also move forward. We realize that we will never satisfy, we'll never get 100% satisfaction in anything that we do. So we'll try to do our best, and we're trying to go from there. Okay.
I'm sitting here wishing that my neighborhood had a triangle park, that my neighbor had a pocket park, because I don't. And the children that live in my neighborhood can't get across the street to Beacon, right? You know where I live.
Right.
And so I'm not 100% happy with that, but I'm overjoyed in so many ways for the city and for the children. You know, if I had children living in my house, I would still have to get in the car and go. But what you presented was wonderful for the city as a whole. Just as there's probably other people sitting here right now who are not 100% happy with the second presentation. And so I just think that there needs to be some give and some, let's see down the road, because it's all gonna be gradual. It's not like we're gonna come back and wake up on January 1 like we're at Disney World. When you wake up on November the 1st, it's Christmas. It was Halloween and now it's Christmas time. It's not gonna happen that way.
Right.
And we're gonna come along and we're gonna figure out how to get to the parks in my neighborhood, and it's all gonna be
Well,
fine.
okay, there's a vacant lot, right? Is it next to your house? That's been vacant since can we put it there? Can we put the pocket park there? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Kay is a 40-year educator that just retired, so she's absolutely right. But Kay, I like that comment because I think what we have to think about. I can't remember who said this, but it was, don't ask what your city can do for you, but what you can do for your city. If we begin to have that perspective that, hey, it ain't about me, but it's about the city as a whole, because people ask me sometimes about Birmingham, and I say I love Birmingham because so go Birmingham, so go the rest of the region. I'm not a martyr, so I'm not the type of individual we all in the same boat, and I don't like you because you in the boat, then I'm gonna throw a grenade in the boat because I want to kill you, but I'm in the boat too. So if we could change, it's all about perspective. It's all about how you see your things. And I would say that we've strategically tried to do everything that we have done here so far. We've tried to include you as much as you can in the decisions that we make here. But one of the things I want people to understand, and I guess it's kind of veering off the presentation since we got a few little more minutes here. When you elect an official, you elect that official to be your voice. And when you have issues with the city, that person should be your voice to bring those issues to the city. Then if you don't like that person after 4 years, then you elect another voice to come in and to take that person's place. That's all. I've always had that perspective, because nobody can tell me how a city councilor think, because I was a city councilor. Nobody can tell me what a city clerk would think, because I was a city clerk. So I've had the opportunity to serve in those roles, and I truly believe you all have elected me to be the mayor. I don't expect for you all to agree with everything that I do. You don't have to like me or take me out to lunch, even though it'd be nice sometimes. But at the end of the day, on the fourth Tuesday in 2025, if you don't like it, everybody can show up. That's the beauty about being in a democracy. Everybody can show up, and if they want a different person, they can put a different person. You don't have to be stuck with the person. But while that person is in office, it would be nice if everybody was rowing in the same direction, because we are in the same boat. I didn't agree with everything that happened from 2016 to 2020, but I wasn't trying to blow the house up at the same time. So I just ask that we have patience, we have love, we all try to work together to be able to move the city forward. We all live here, so when one person hurts, everybody hurts. That's my story. And I would like to thank everybody that's been praying for my family. You all know that my mother died on Thanksgiving Day. So we just want to thank you all for being here and filling in the gap and hugging on us and just helping us to be able to go through a very, very difficult season. Didn't want to end on a downer, but there was a song that says, "I always love my mama. She's my favorite girl." And on that note, I hope that you all enjoyed all the presentations that we had here tonight. We're looking forward to you all giving feedback. My email address, jstewart@cityofirondaleal.gov. I'll make sure that I get it to the presenters, and we'll work through whatever additional things that we need to do. Glad that you all came out. Hope that you learned something. Appreciate you all tolerating me, and may everyone have a safe drive to their destination. Look forward to seeing you all next Tuesday. You can exit now. In the back.